our media partners, can you hear me? Can I get the thumbs up? I got the thumbs up. Before we start, I want to acknowledge the partners in the room. I see the Bland, I see Candy Bremer, former county commissioner, United Way, and my colleague, David Weber, and my police department, and so many others. Thank you all for being here. I do know that this is a topic of interest, great interest to our community. My press conference, I try to keep my remarks to about 7 minutes. But buckle up, this one is probably going to be more like 9 to 10 minutes because it is that important, and I look forward to taking the questions from our media partners. I have my police department, fire department, and other partners here as well. You'll be hearing from Amy Cox, who is just an incredible leader in this work. So thanks again for being here. As you know, homelessness is one of the most visible and complex challenges facing the city of Colorado Springs. It impacts people experiencing homelessness. It impacts our neighborhoods, our businesses, our public spaces, our parks. And I want to be clear, there is no silver bullet solution for homelessness because there is no single cause. But our residents should expect something from city government, and that is leadership. They should expect us to have a plan, and we do have a plan. Thank you to the community for forming that plan. They should expect us to execute that plan, to measure the results, and when something isn't working, to change the course, pivot, and to do better. And that is exactly what we are doing. Now recently, there are 2 reports that seem to tell 2 different stories about homelessness. Actually, both reports tell the same story. One is the annual point-in-time count that showed a 19% decrease in overall homelessness and a 41% decrease in unsheltered homelessness. And at the same time, the Colorado Homeless Management Information System data show that more people in our city sought help from our homeless response system over the course of the year. One number has gone up, the other number has gone down. And the reality is 2 things can be true at the same time. So one report is a snapshot of a single night, the other measures people interacting with our homeless response system throughout the year. And the message I take from both is clear. We are making progress, and the pressure on our homeless response system, it is so real. That reality is why I commissioned in 2024 for my team to work with residents, to work with business owners, to work with service providers, to work with other government partners, to develop, and also to work with people with lived experience, to develop what we have as a homeless response action plan. And that plan will guide our activities for the next 5 years. And I want to emphasize the word action because our community does not need another plan that sits on the shelf. We need a roadmap that turns good intentions into measurable results, and that is exactly what we are getting at. So this plan includes 61 action items. Today I'm proud to report that 59% of those actions have been completed, with another 25% in progress. And we accomplished this in less than 2 years of the 5-year action plan. So we are making progress. We still have a ways to go. Our strategy is straightforward. Respond to the challenges on the streets today while investing in longer-term solutions that reduce homelessness tomorrow. For the challenges we face today, we have expanded the citywide ordinance. We have strengthened enforcement and cleanup. We've also consolidated our hot and dark operations to provide 24/7 coverage downtown, creating greater visibility, stronger enforcement, and a more consistent response. We've invested in downtown Cleveland Safe, bringing together business support, ambassadors, cleanliness, and street outreach. In its first year, 98% of incidents handled through this program were resolved without assistance from the Colorado Springs Police Department. And that is a big deal. Because what it does is it allows our officers to focus their enforcement on just the most critical needs in our community. And that helps us with improving our response time. And you've heard me talk about our priority 1 response time that's gone from 24 minutes to 11 minutes. This program helps with that. And we're taking that coordinated approach to South Nevada corridor, to the Keep It Clean and Safe program, AKA Kick-Ass. My thanks to City Council for passing that ordinance to support the program, and I'll share more about that at tomorrow's press conference, and I hope to see our media partners there as well. We're also addressing illegal panhandling and encouraging generosity that connects people to real services and real pathways forward. And that includes 30 signs placed in high traffic areas of panhandling throughout the city, and we are exploring additional locations. I get often criticized for that, Mayor, you're not doing enough to look out for our residents or look out for the businesses. And that it's simply not true. I hold a value that compassion does not require us to ignore behavior that could potentially harm our community. And accountability does not require us to abandon compassion. And this is the unfortunate reality of politics. It's all about two sides. The reality is two things can be true at the same time. We can treat people with dignity and enforce our laws. We can offer help and maintain expectations. We can protect our neighborhoods, businesses, public spaces, while helping people move towards stability. Compassion and accountability must work together. Because enforcement alone will never solve homelessness. And that is why we are investing in solutions that actually help people move from the street to shelter and to stability. And to that end, we raised nearly $1 million to expand winter shelter capacity. We are investing in transitional housing. At my direction, we have invested in behavioral health and substance use treatment, including a $150,000 donation from the city to Step Springs, a 50-bed residential recovery facility helping men overcome homelessness and addiction. Because for some people, housing alone will not address the underlying challenges keeping them on the street. And still, housing remains fundamental to long-term progress. And since I took office, the city has supported the development of more than 3,000 affordable housing units, and I'm looking at our friends from the place who are part of that mission. And friends, that is what comprehensive response looks like. Public safety and prevention, enforcement and outreach, shelter and treatment, housing, and opportunity. And today, we are taking the next step. I have directed our city teams to operate through a coordinated whole government approach that we are calling the Homeless Response Team. Now I want to be clear, this is not about creating more government. It's about making the government that you already have work better. Because homelessness touches almost every part of our city organization, from police to fire to housing, parks, neighborhood services, municipal court, public works, emergency management, and others. Every department, every division has a responsibility. Now we are bringing those responsibilities together with clearer ownership, stronger coordination, greater accountability for results. Because a business owner should not need to understand the city organizational chart to get help. A resident should not have to figure out which department is responsible for an unsafe encampment. And a person experiencing homelessness should not have to navigate disconnect the system when they're ready to accept help. One city, one coordinated response. And my Chief Housing and Homeless Response Officer, Amy, is providing leadership to the Homeless Response Team. The Homeless Response Team is strengthening our work our deliverables from enforcement and cleanup to outreach to employment to shelter, housing, and supportive services. But let me be clear, city government cannot and should not do this work alone. Lasting progress for us in Colorado Springs requires our service providers, thank you. Our nonprofit faith community, thank you. Our healthcare partners, thank you. Our businesses, thank you. Public safety agencies, thank you. Our housing partners, thank you. Volunteers and people with lived experience, thank you and thank you. And that is why we're proud to partner with United Way to provide joint leadership of the Pikes Peak Continuum of Care. Thank you, Kenny. Because we want to strengthen coordination and accountability across our homeless response system. And I want to be honest, there is much work ahead. We've come a long way and we still have a ways to go. But I do want the people of Colorado Springs to hear me clearly. We have a plan. We're executing the plan. We are measuring the results. And where we see gaps, we will pivot and we will act. Because mayors are called to do more than just describe a problem. We are called to bring people together, make decisions, and deliver results. Our goal is not simply to just manage homelessness. Our goal is to help make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring, while building a city where our neighbors and neighborhoods feel safe, our public spaces are welcoming, and our businesses can thrive. And that is the Colorado Springs we're working to build, and that is the Colorado Springs that we will build. Now, I want to turn it over to my colleague who is leading much of this work. I get to be the voice and the face of this work, but make no mistake about it, I have an incredible organization, and incredible teammates, and many of them are standing here today who are at the helm of this work. And so I'd like to introduce you to our Chief Housing and Homeless Response Officer, Amy Cox. She's going to walk you through more of our progress and what comes next and how the homeless response team will strengthen the work moving forward. Amy?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, everyone. So the Mayor laid out the strategy, and my job and the work of our city teams is to turn that strategy into a coordinated system that produces measurable results. And over the past year, much of our work has been laying the foundation for that. The Mayor outlined, of course, several ways. We have strengthened enforcement, cleanup, and outreach. These actions help us to maintain a safe and welcoming public spaces and demonstrate that the city is listening to concerns and responding to resident expectations for how the city should look and feel. At the same time, we have invested in housing and supportive services because enforcement and cleanup alone do not reduce homelessness. As Mayor shared, in the past 3 years, we have supported 3,000 affordable homes, and we do this through using things like private activity bonds and federal funds and rebate programs, and this work is led by the Housing and Homelessness Response Department, and I just want to give a shout out to my team. That is a big lift and very important work that we do. We also completed a countywide housing needs assessment and secured funding for a housing action plan. This helps us to understand the affordability challenges in our community. We tested a motel voucher program last winter with Catholic Charities to help bring families indoors during cold weather and connect them to resources to regain stability. And this year, we're now moving into a diversion program with flexible funding to help unhoused families problem solve and end their homelessness. And I want to thank City Council, who recently approved shifting nearly $2 million in unspent federal funding to rental assistance for tenants at risk of losing their housing due to federal funding cuts, and providing resources to those tenants to help them achieve lasting stability. preventing someone from becoming homeless in the first place is the most effective homelessness response strategy that we have. And each of these actions addresses a different part of the challenge, and together they build that stronger system. And now our focus is making that system work better together. The homelessness response team, the mayor announced today, is an important part of that work. We are many departments with different roles and a shared, simple goal. One team, one city, one coordinated response. This means that city departments are meeting regularly to share information, review procedures, establish common standards, and solve problems together. We will be coordinating how we approach encampment closures, how outreach is directed, and working together to collect more consistent data. And that coordination doesn't stop at the walls of city government. And thank you for introducing our Pikes Peak Continuum of Care. We are also working to strengthen the continuum of care here through that stronger partnership with the Pikes Peak United Way and the city, alongside service providers, foundation partners, and people with lived experience. And if you need any sort of primer on that framework, because it can be confusing for many people, we're happy to provide that for you. But our goal is a homelessness response system that measures outcomes, shares data, learns together, and holds itself accountable. And accountable to outcomes, and that is our next phase. One of the most important priorities is helping people exit homelessness more quickly. Our housing action plan is underway, building on the recommendations of that needs assessment, and this plan will help guide the creation of more supportive housing and more deeply affordable units in our community, particularly for households earning 30% of the area median income. And because that is a meaningless number to a lot of people, it is for households households of one earning $24,500 or less annually, and households of four earning about $35,000 a year. There's a deep need for those units in our community. We're also strengthening those pathways to recovery by investing in recovery housing and transitional housing, and creating stronger connections between behavioral health housing and long-term stability in those programs and beyond. And finally, what's very important is we have to know whether what we are doing is working. Over the next year, we will be working toward measurable reductions in unsheltered homelessness. The point-in-time count was promising. We need to see if we can see those reductions over time. We will look at how quickly people are navigating the system and exiting homelessness, and we'll look at the interventions that are working well and the interventions that may not be working so well. Let's double down on what works and do less of what doesn't. We'll develop shared performance standards across our continuum of care so that every provider partner in our community understands what success will look like. And we will make that progress visible. Housing and homelessness will provide quarterly updates to City Council. We have one scheduled for September 8th. And we will provide an annual public report documenting our progress, our challenges, and where we need to adjust. And let's be honest, there isn't a strategy, an initial strategy that is ever flawless, that can account for every unpredictable variable in the landscape. And it's prudent for us to review and reset as needed and ensure that our actions are aligned with real-world objectives. Transparency matters because this work really hinges on public confidence. And public confidence comes from being clear about what we said we would do, what we actually did, and what results were achieved. But I want to be clear as well that the measure of this work will not be in how many initiatives that we launch. It will be whether fewer people are living unsheltered. It will be whether people move out of homelessness more quickly. It will be whether people are employed, whether they feel better, whether they're healthier, and whether residents see a more coordinated response from their city. That is the work ahead of us, and we are committed to doing it alongside our service providers, community partners, volunteers, funders, first responders, and everyone who continues to show up for this work. And I just want to especially thank all of you here today who do that work and made time to come show your support. We see you, we value you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Amy. I want to open up real quick for questions from our media partners.
The first question. So basically, Mayor, you said this isn't about creating more government, but making the government you already have work better. So what wasn't working before that made you decide this new homelessness response team was necessary?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of my biggest strengths that I brought to city government before I became mayor in my career in the city has been the ability to bring several groups of people together for a common cause. Whether it's with Cause I Love, whether it's with cities, or whether it's with the Colorado Springs Small Business Advancement Team. So I'm constantly looking at ways we can be efficient, because I believe in the concept of a village and that we are better together. So my first year in office, I want to give a lot of kudos to my teammates, where they're doing a lot of response to the community as the community reaches out for needs, especially around how we can help with homelessness. But I remember asking that question the first time: has all the divisions and departments that touch homelessness from city government ever been in the same room together? And the answer was no. So that was the first step. So some of it is that we don't know what we don't know. Have we been responding? Yes. But I do think there is power when we come together. And you're aware of our budget challenges. So being efficient and being fiscally conservative, and with the limited taxpayer money that we have, it makes sense to bring our folks together for the left hand to know what the right hand is doing, for us to talk and to have a more coordinated approach in terms of how we respond. So I can't answer your question with regards to what wasn't working, because I'm proud of my team. They've been doing a lot of hard work. But I can tell you, moving forward, expect greater efficiency, expect quicker response, expect that your government is going to be knowing truly how we are responding as one coordinated organization around homelessness. Amy, do you have any?
I do. Okay. I do. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and that is a great question. So if you think about, I don't want to get too nerdy here, but if you think about a spectrum of collaboration, what our teams are doing very, very well is communicating and then working and coordinating our activities. What we're aiming for is a greater collaboration, so that things like knowing where PD is going to be enforcing encampments internally, having different standard operating procedures. So with certain encampments, we have outreach workers going first. How do we permanently close encampments? And so it's taking our communication and our coordination to the next level, so that we are working under shared standard operating procedures and really working to make those meaningful reductions in homelessness, especially with unsheltered homelessness.
Yes.
I have another question. So you talked about balancing and compassion with accountability. How do you make sure increased enforcement doesn't just move people experiencing homelessness from one part of the city to another?
That's a great question, and it's why we have the new homeless response team, because we do need to enforce, because the safety of the community is a top priority for me. It's personal. I mean, I'm a family person. I have 3 young kids, so their safety is always important to me, as well as the safety of many of our residents who call this home, and our visitors as well. Now, we also have an incredible department who are working with our nonprofit providers to ensure that our residents experiencing homelessness are receiving the help and care that they need. Now, those 2 aspects need to be better coordinated. And I think Amy just did a great job giving a practical example of when we talk about closing an encampment. Our fire department has the community response teams and that whole program around the CARES program, and with community and public health, how do we send our team ahead of those closures? And by the way, let's not miss that my teammates in the hot team are incredibly compassionate. I I said that in the State of the City last year. I ran into them at one of our parks and I asked them to describe their job to me and they said they're 50% social workers, 50% law enforcement officers. So, but we are still sending, now we want to send our care team from the fire department, our street outreach ahead of that because we know ultimately moving people from one encampment to another is not the solution. We ultimately need to get our residents help that they need. So the homeless response team truly is the solution, is the answer moving forward so that our services better coordinated. One city, one team, one coordinated response, whole government approach. Amy, would you like to? You don't have to. You are more than welcome if there's anything I missed.
Well, the piece that one piece that I would like to emphasize too is that our work internally must have an external outlet. We don't provide housing, we don't provide behavioral health care, we don't do job training to scale. And so part of what we are doing internally is collaborating and coordinating with our external partners.
Right.
And so that we can meaningfully connect people to the services that they need and permanently get people off the street.
Yes, yes.
Hi, how many people are on this team, the new team?
And the homeless response
Yes, how many
team,
people?
Amy, you might be I think it's like 20, 30 people that meet.
Around 20.
Around 20? Yeah, I'm trying to gauge we met in this room actually, and
Okay.
with the leadership, and I'd say about 20 people. But even the better question is how many departments in division?
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, it's about 11 or 13 total?
I don't have the exact
Okay.
answer.
10. About 10? Okay, including the mayor's office. So, so those 20 people represent about 10 to 11 different divisions and departments.
Okay, and did it start already? Is it?
Yeah, a version of it started in 2024 when I asked if we'd ever come together, and the work officially under Amy's leadership, this new chapter, started maybe less than a month ago. It just kicked off. But the team have been meeting on a regular basis since 2024, and now it's official. We are the new homeless response team under Amy's leadership.
And so can you explain how this is different from the HOT team or other teams, the fire department team, other teams we have?
Amy, can you give more context, maybe talk through what the HOT team does with the fire department and how the homeless response team, give me one or two examples of what that looks like.
Yeah, we have exceptional professionals in the city providing different roles. And what the homelessness response team is intended to do is to bring all of those different roles together towards a shared end, or shared aim. So I'm going to I'll use encampments and cleanup again. How can we coordinate our efforts so that when we are enforcing encampments, that we have a clear strategy for how we're going to connect people to services to get more effective outcomes there and then provide that cleanup. And I think part of what this launch that we had a few weeks ago, we identified is that a lot of people in our city are doing really great work on a day-to-day basis. It's operational. And what we're doing is bringing those operations under a strategic vision for what we're trying to accomplish in those operations. And some of that will require things like, how do we modify our standard operating procedures? So before we go into cleanup an encampment, what does that look like? And so I hope that is answering your question, Debbie. It's not just one department. We cross over. So if law enforcement will respond to activities on our trails, fire department responds to activities on our trails, the urban trail team responds to activities on trails, our public works department will respond to encampments and trash on our trails. How do we bring those groups together in a more meaningful way to have the desired outcomes that we want,
And
not just outputs.
maybe let's talk about the strategic plan, because you're having all these departments trying to work off this plan, but there's a single plan. How are they all knowing that they're achieving that plan?
Yeah, I think that we have a homelessness response action plan that covers all of our department. It's enforcement, it's outreach, it's cleanup, it's the leadership we bring to with the external partners. It's all of those pieces and making sure that we're all aligned under a single plan.
And then have you set those standards? You mentioned industry, everybody needs to be following industry standards or standards you're establishing, or?
Yeah, so there's two pieces to that. I mean, we're looking internally about how can we take the next step in our operations. And again, this is still fairly new, so we'll be looking at that internally. And then with our continuum of care, one of the things a continuum of care does is for a region set standards on things like street outreach, case management. And so those will be the types of standards that we're going to be setting across the community. And I just,
Let me give another.
yeah.
Let me give a timely example. I've asked. Oh, by the way, thank you, Councilmember Longweber. These are the 10 city divisions, departments, if you're interested. I noticed the mayor's office is not on there, so it's, yeah, and transit. So there are a couple more that are not listed because my office and my transit.
I think 15, it could actually go up to 15.
It go up to 15, so it's just about everything. But I want to give another timely example. When summer comes, our residents typically will see more visible homelessness. A side note is, visible homelessness is not a determination of whether or not we're making progress. I think our partners would tell you a lot of the work they're doing is within the buildings. But our residents see more visible homelessness, and one of the first things I get asked is around panhandling, which is a great question because people see that how are we helping people, is that illegal, is that not legal? So I've asked for a briefing on our efforts with panhandling, and a lot of that work started actually before I even came into office, and I'm trying to take it to the next level. Now, I've seen the map. We have about 30 panhandling signs. Some of them are in areas where it's just simply illegal, and it's illegal because it's not safe for the homeless resident to be in that medium. So, and then we have other signs that just and discourage, because Colorado Springs is the 7th or 8th most caring city in the United States. So we want to discourage people to help that way and for them to rechannel their help to our service providers. So in the spirit of learning what we have, and also the opportunities to add more signs throughout the community. And by the way, that is a temporary solution. There's nothing permanent about that. That work historically would have been just the mayor's office and Public Works, because they're the ones installing the sign. Guess who else now is brought into that work? 12 other divisions and departments. They might push back, or they might have better ideas. They might begin to ask more questions. They actually, neighborhood services or parks might say, there is this, have we thought about this area? Because we hear from residents quite a bit on this area. So that's an example of how one solution may have been in isolation. Now, doesn't mean we didn't get that solution. So it was just the mayor's office and Public Works. We would add 10 more. But guess what? With feedback now from other divisions and departments, it becomes more of a whole, more of a complete. It becomes a plan. It fits with this mayor's values of compassion and accountability. And that's what the other divisions and departments bring to the table. So that's just one example of, because it's timely, it's something I'm asking for, but I welcome the feedback of the rest of the city organization so that idea, that plan can be strengthened. and incomplete. I don't know if that helps a little bit.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes?
Yeah, you mentioned discouraging people from giving out handouts, people panhandling on the street. Can you talk about some ways that your average person can help out, get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. The Milken Institute, my first and second year in office, we were ranked one of the best performing cities in the country. And they were so fascinated by how do we do that with such a limited budget. They're aware that 420, 430 million, that the general fund doesn't go too far. And we sat in this room in that interview, and one of the big aha moments was, while city government is limited, we can't do the work without our nonprofit providers. If they close, I am screwed. I need them. I need our faith providers. I need everybody at that table. So one of the best ways our residents can support, can put their care into action, is actually support Catholic Charities, The Place, Homeward Pikes Peak, Springs Rescue Mission, Hope COS, and the folks that are on the front lines, and the behavioral health organizations that are trying to help with upstream solutions. I want to encourage our residents to help in that way, because sometimes helping can hurt. I'll tell you, I'll end with this story of my experience in my first year in office. I shadowed the neighborhood services team. I wanted to get a better perspective of how we put notifications and how we clean up encampments. And I remember getting to the encampment and just seeing everything was left. Nothing. And I went, these are people's valuable possession. How come they didn't take them with them? And my team said, they don't have to, because our faith partners give them the supplies for the next encampment. And so it becomes a moving target. So the burden on our taxpayers to not just clean that place, because it's a lot of cleanliness that needs to happen. We go from that encampment, and then we go to the next encampment. And I'm a pastor. I came to this community as a pastor. I love that our faith communities want to step up to help. But that helping does not help the overall plan that we're working towards. A lot of our partners are involved in this plan. And if our residents can divert that help into transitional housing and housing solutions and how we feed and how we shelter, that's truly how they can help. And many of these nonprofit providers want their help as volunteers. So that's my call to action to our city. Please show up, please care, please help, but make sure you're working with your city government and with your partners. And Amy's work and Amy's department can also help point people in the right direction.
Will you take an outside question?
Sure.
Hey, I'm from Oklahoma City.
Oh,
We're
excellent.
visiting, and we are
Just tell
actually.
the mayor we like this city better.
Well,
I know David Holt.
it's a little bit cooler, so, you know. But Oklahoma City and Oklahoma has basically taken a out of sight, out of mind approach to the homeless. If we don't see them, if people don't see them, there's nothing to worry about. Well, what they basically have done is moved from encampment to encampment to encampment, and didn't really solve the problem. And I know y'all will have, if you don't have it, you already have that group of people that believe that. As long as they're not in my neighborhood, they can be over there, but they can't be here. Are your response team responsive to those people to try to win them over to the cause?
Yeah, thank you for bringing up that question, because that's near and dear to my leadership. Often extreme solutions are just politics. I have no interest in politics. I've heard everything from hire a bus and ship it to Pueblo. To everything from just make it more comfortable for homeless residents who just live on the street. Neither one of those solutions are solutions. And I'm so glad to hear you say that. So even when we talk about enforcement, that is a temporary solution. That there's nothing permanent about that. Amy is such a great reminder of the goal is to help people exit out of homelessness.
Right.
That is ultimately what, so that is the, or we also say to make homelessness, we know we can never end homelessness. Jesus even talks about that in the scriptures. You always have the poor with you. But, so we also say another goal is to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurrent. That is probably more of a true goal. So all these strategies are working towards that goal. So when you hear enforcement, that is a safety issue for both our residents, and by the way, our homeless residents, because there's crime that happens in encampments, there's rape that happens in encampments, there's homicides that happen in encampments, there's drug use that happen in encampments. So enforcement is keeping our community safe. Enforcement is not how we help people exit out of homelessness. So make no mistake about it, the goal is to help people exit out of homelessness. So I have no interest in extreme solutions and just political talking points. We're going to keep doing the hard work of helping our residents exit out of homelessness and keep the greater community safe as well.
Can I just throw one?
Yeah.
So to give you hope for Oklahoma City. Yeah, looking at
Oh yeah,
this.
with our fellow.
Our fellow from Harvard last year, Elizabeth Blissberger, is now working in that office. And they have, they also consolidated their continuum of care and are taking greater leadership there. So it's very similar. And I do want to recognize that we have Pratik Nair, also here, another fellow from Harvard. He's in the School of Public Health, who's supporting us with our supportive housing plan. So we do have investment from these institutions in helping us learn and have deeper conversations about homelessness, but also these folks go back out into communities and do this work. So if when you're back in Oklahoma City, tell Elizabeth Blissberger we said hello.
We miss her. She was a great one. Yeah. Let's do one or two more questions, or we just, I'm looking at the time.
Yeah, we got time for one more.
Oh, one more. My boss told me one more. Or none more. Thank you so much. Oh, I saw, yes? Oh, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, once, twice. Thank you so much. Onward and upward. Thank you.